What an intro. Hey, I'm sporting my Big 10 championship hat here. I'm going to do a little bit of predictions for the conference title games. I don't usually do predictions, but all these games are so big and mean so much that I feel like I should. I'm going to go through these quickly. I'm not going to take a long time doing it. The ACC, we've got Florida State, number 4 Florida State, 12-0 on the season against 14th ranked Louisville. Now, Louisville was 10th ranked last week. Then they lost to Kentucky in state rivalry. I think it was 38-31. Louisville lost that game, and they finished the season 10-2. Now, a lot of people are saying Louisville's going to win this game. I disagree. I personally think Florida State's going to win by a field goal. I like something like a game-winning field goal kind of situation. I know they don't have Jordan Travis at quarterback, but I still think they're a better team than Louisville. What is Louisville's best win, honestly? Notre Dame, probably. What's Florida State's best win? Probably LSU. Florida State needs to win this game because a lot of people are doubting them right now. Now, I'm not doubting them. I do think that they're a really great team, and I think that they can win and make some noise in the playoffs. I don't think they'll win the whole thing, but I'm going to take Florida State in this one. I just don't trust Louisville. I think Florida State will go out there and try and prove a point, and will get the job done. That game is played at 8 p.m. on Saturday, same time as the next game I'm going to talk about, the Big 10 championship. Now, as you guys know, I'm a Michigan fan. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, you guys know that. But Michigan's had a great season. We're 12-0 for the second straight year, and we've got all of our goals still in front of us. If we win, we're in. And we play Iowa on Saturday at 8 p.m. Iowa ended up winning the West by beating Nebraska, I believe, in the last week of the season to finish 10-2. I don't actually remember what Iowa's second loss was, but I know they had a loss to Penn State. It was like 31-0. Michigan's best win is against Ohio State, obviously. The last game they played, it was like 30-24. I already made a long video about that. Iowa's best win... What is their best win? Wisconsin, maybe? Iowa's got a really bad offense, but a really great defense. The only problem is I see Michigan's played better defenses than Iowa, I think. I think Ohio State has a better defense. I think Penn State has a much better defense. Maybe not much better, but better. And Michigan was able to score on those teams. And with Michigan's defense being ranked number 1 in the country in scoring, and Iowa's offense not even ranked in the top 100, I find it very hard to believe that Michigan would lose this game. Michigan will probably want to get up to an early lead and get out of there and win, obviously. No disrespect to Iowa. They've had a great season, and what's crazy about Iowa is that they're 9-0 on the year when they've scored 10 or more points, which is bonkers. They can't even average 25 points a game, but they're 10-2. Now, those wins are against bad teams like Nebraska, teams like Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, teams like that. When they play great teams like Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, they tend to get blown out. Now, this is a rematch from a couple of years ago in the 2021 Big 10 championship game. Michigan won that game 42-3. Caden McNamara is not playing in this game for Iowa. He is still out with his injury. He was going to be out for the rest of the season. And their best player, their leading receiver, Eric All, who was their tight end this year, got hurt in October. He was a Michigan guy the last few years, and he's still their leading receiver, even now, when his last game, I believe, was October 14th. Iowa's offense is not good. Their quarterback is not great. He has more interceptions than touchdowns. Iowa's been solely relying on their defense to beat bad teams. Michigan will win this game, and they should win handily. And even if they have some problems, I think they will still end up winning this game pretty big. The Big 12 title game, number 18 Oklahoma State versus number 7 Texas. Texas is one of the, unlike Michigan and Florida State, I don't think Texas controls their own destiny. Texas needs some help. They need teams like Florida State to lose to make it. And I don't know if they necessarily will if the 4 undefeateds win. If the 4 undefeated teams win, that being Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and Washington, if those 4 teams win, then Texas isn't getting it. As much as you want to say Texas is better than a team like Florida State, the fact of the matter is that they have a loss and Florida State wouldn't. Florida State would get in over Texas, and I think that's the right thing to do. But Texas, I expect Texas to win this game. I think they're like a 15-point favorite or something like that. Whereas like Michigan, I think is a 21-point favorite now. They were like a 23.5-point favorite, but I think it's 21.5 now. And then Florida State, I think, is favored by 2.5. I'm going to take Texas to win this game over Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State had to win in a close one in the very last week of the season to get into this game. Oklahoma State's best win, honestly, is probably against Oklahoma. Texas' best win is obviously Alabama from week 2. If you guys remember that game on the road, they won by double digits. I think it was at 43-33, I think was the final score. So, I mean, they do need some things to go their way to get into the playoffs, but if one of those teams loses, I think they have a real opportunity. I think when it comes to the Pac-12 championship, not so much, because I think whoever wins that game is getting in regardless. So it's not even necessarily about what happens in that game. If you're a Texas fan, you probably want Florida State to lose. You probably want... that's probably your best bet, honestly, is Florida State to lose. To get in, and obviously you have to win too. You have to beat Oklahoma State, and I do think you will beat Oklahoma State. So I'm gonna take Texas in this game. They do have Quinn Ewers back. Obviously, I've had him back for a couple of weeks, but I'm gonna take Texas to win this game. In the Pac-12 championship, we've got Oregon and Washington. It's a huge game. This is a rematch. Washington won the last game. I think it was 36-33 was the final. And ever since that game, Oregon has looked better than Washington every week. The same teams that have been, getting blown out by Oregon are in close battles with Washington. And I think Washington fans and the team and players feel a little bit disrespected. Oregon's a 9.5-point favorite in this game, despite losing to Washington and having a loss, and Washington being undefeated and 3rd ranked, while Oregon is 5th ranked. I'm going to take Oregon in this game, in the rematch, just mostly because I think they are better now, and because it's really hard to beat a team twice in a row. Now, it does happen, but it's not common. So I'm going to take Oregon to win this game, and I think if they win this game, they get in. With Washington, I don't think that is the case. I think if they lose this game, they're out. Washington, Oregon, it's literally a you win, you're in, you lose, you're out kind of a deal. It's very cut and dry. I'm going to take Oregon to win this game. They got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country, in Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And I think honestly, I don't think either one of those guys are going to win it. Now, I could be wrong, and the winner of this game could honestly win it. I think that's probably the most likely thing. But Jaden Daniels at LSU probably has something to say about it. The only problem is that they're just not in the SEC title game like they were last year, so it's not going to be as easy. And yes, wins do matter when it comes to the Heisman winner. Most of the time, a Heisman winner, the team they're on, they haven't lost more than 3 games. Now LSU is 9-3 or 10-2 or whatever it is, so he could still win it. But anyways, I'm going to take Oregon in this game. I think it'll be a great game. I don't think they will win by 9.5. I'm going to take the under on that one and say Oregon wins in a close game. I'm not going to say that they're going to roll over Washington. That's silly to me. Give me Oregon and lay the under. And the SEC title game, Georgia and Alabama. Now, if Georgia wins this game, Georgia's in, Alabama isn't. It's very cut and dry in that way. Very, that's just how it is. If Alabama wins and some other things go their way, happen, it's going to be really interesting. And I've talked about this scenario with a coworker of mine for a few weeks now on what would happen if Bama beat Georgia, and then you had Michigan, Washington, and Florida State win, and then you also had Texas win. Who would they put in that fourth spot? Well, at that point, it'd be, yes, Michigan is in, Washington's in, Florida State is in, and then it would be an argument over that fourth spot. Who do you put in at that point? Do you put Bama in because they won the SEC? Do you put Texas in because they won the Big 12 and they beat Alabama? Do you put Georgia and Alabama both in because Georgia's only lost one game in the last 2 years or whatever? It's a really interesting question. Now, I would personally put Texas in that fourth spot, not because I hate Georgia or Alabama. I just feel like it would be a fair trade-off, right? Now, Alabama could still get in with a win over Georgia, but Texas would have to lose. Now, Texas could still win and all those things could still happen, and they would put Alabama in. I wouldn't put it past the committee to do so. I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't put it past them to put Bama in, or to put both teams in, Georgia and Alabama, or to put Alabama and Texas both in, and leave out a team like Washington or Oregon, or depending on who wins that game. Because you could think, well, if Oregon beats Washington, then you got 2 one-loss Pac-12 teams, and then that would give you an excuse to put Georgia and Alabama both in, Alabama and Texas both in. Georgia, now, I'm assuming the committee is hoping that all the undefeateds just win and maybe Texas loses, so it makes it easy for them, and that's a real possibility, because then you could just say, yep, 4 teams is perfect the way they are. Now, obviously, as a Michigan fan, I'm hoping Michigan wins and that doesn't change. But in terms of everything else, I'm kind of hoping that there is some sort of chaos. Bama beating Georgia would be really interesting. And it would give an opportunity for an Oregon or a Washington to sneak back in even after losing. Now, not so much Oregon. If Oregon loses, I think they're done. If Washington loses, they still have a chance, but the chances are pretty slim, just because they would only have that one loss. And it would really just depend on what happens around them, especially if Texas loses. That would be a 2-loss Texas team. You got, Bama, who would lose. That would be a 2-loss Bama team. It'll be really interesting to see, especially if Florida State were to lose. You could make an excuse for Washington to be put back in, because they would have a better resume than Florida State. So it's really interesting. All these games are really interesting. All these games are being played on Friday and Saturday. Friday we have the Pac-12 title game with Oregon and Washington Friday night. Saturday you got games all day long. I think the Big 12 title game, Texas Oklahoma State, is at noon. You got Georgia and Alabama at 4 Eastern time, and then you got Florida State, Oklahoma State, Michigan, Iowa at 8 p.m. And then you have a couple other conference title games, like the Conference USA title game and the AAC title game. I think the AAC title game is Tulane and New Mexico State, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it the other way around? Is it Liberty and New Mexico State? No, the Conference USA is Liberty and SMU. Maybe I'm getting those mixed up, but I'm going to take Liberty to win, and I'm going to take Tulane to win. And there's 5 undefeated teams left. 4 of them are in the top 4. That's Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and the 5th one is Liberty. So that's a little bit interesting. I think Liberty will win that game, and Tulane will win that game, and maybe they play each other in a bowl game. That'd be interesting. But anyways, next video you'll see will be post-game reaction to Michigan, Iowa, and basically the whole day of football. The game's being played on my birthday on Saturday, so hopefully Michigan gets the dub and I can celebrate. And then December 3rd are when all the bowl games come out, and I should have a video in a few days after, maybe the day after, on the bowl game predictions. I'm gonna try and do this every year where I predict all the bowl game winners. I think there's like 41 games or something like that, so I'm gonna do that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys later.